In Kingpin, Woody Harrelson plays Roy Munson, a promising bowler who is on his way to having it all. But after losing his hand in a hustle gone wrong, his life has turned upside down, where he's now an alcoholic bum with a hook hand. However, after seeing an Amish man called Ishmael, played by Randy Quaid, do some bowling, he wants to become his manager, where they go on a road trip to a bowling tournament, and along the way are joined by Claudia, played by Vanessa Angel. And the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm distracted by Harrelson's amazing comb-over. Truly a majestic sight to be in awe of. But nope, along comes Bill Murray, and he's like, "Hold on, bitches, I'm the comb-over king around here." Seriously, look at that thing! It's a comb-over beast! Webb Murray plays Big Ern, a smug bowler who's responsible for Roy to lose his hand, and thus his downward trajectory in life, which leads to an epic bowling showdown of the comb-overs. So today we are going to comb over some facts about Kingpin by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about this movie. Yep, just like Chase, I am on the case, so let's check it out. I totally should have grown a comb over for this episode. I mean, I've got the baldness for it. Number 10. The Kingpin script had been collecting dust for a while. So the script for Kingpin was written by producer-writers Mort Nathan and Barry Finaro, both of whom had previously worked on TV, particularly the classic sitcom The Golden Girls. However, once completing the script for Kingpin, it seemed that Kingpin just got completely forgotten about and didn't go anywhere, and for a lengthy period of time too, where it had been, quote, sitting around for a while. The script eventually found its way to the Farrelly brothers, and they knew they wanted to make this into a movie, as they found it really funny and to be a comedic take on movies like The Hustler and The Color of Money, where of course they made rewrites and got to work to finally bringing this script to life, with the movie being backed up by MGM, you know, the one with the lion and shit. Number 9, the visual inspiration for Kingpin. So as mentioned, Kingpin would end up being directed by comedy sibling legends Peter and Bobby Farrelly, and the 90s was really their time to shine, as they made it big with their debut movie, Dumb and Dumber, in 1994, and then 4 years after that, there was Something About Mary, making the comedy brothers the kings of quirky, gross-out comedies. However, in between making those two movies, the Farrelly brothers would make Kingpin, the on-the-road bowling comedy. According to Mental Floss, something that was an aesthetic inspiration for the Farrelly brothers for creating the world of Kingpin was a 1986 movie called Something Wild, a raunchy comedy starring Jeff Daniels and Melanie Griffith, which, like Kingpin, is also a road movie. And the Farrelly brothers just liked the way that movie looked and thought, yep, that's the direction to go in for our movie, even telling Kingpin cinematographer Mark Irwin to just copy the style of Something Wild. Number 8, casting possibilities. Now when it came to Ishmael, the innocent childlike Amish bowler, the original choice for the part was Chris Farley, and apparently he was up to play the role, but had to drop out as he was already contractually committed to starring in fellow comedy Black Sheep, so he made that movie instead. But the part went to Randy Quaid, who has starred in many movies and is probably most famous for Cousin Eddie in the Vacation movies. According to IMDb, Michael Keaton and Nicolas Cage were offered to play Roy Munson, but they both turned the part down, and so the role went to Woody Harrelson, who was actually roommates with co-director Peter Farrelly all the way back in his Cheers days. Now, the Farrelly brothers managed to convince Woody Harrelson to star in the movie over a game of pool. You see, originally he found the movie to be silly and didn't want to star in it. And during this infamous game of pool, Peter Farrelly made a bet with Harrelson that if he can make this one particular difficult shot, then he, Harrelson, would have to star in the movie. And Woody Harrelson agreed, and Farrelly made the shot, and the rest, as they say, is history. And Jim Carrey was the original choice to play the movie's villain, Big Ern, but of course the part went to Bill Murray. And George Clooney was considered to play Claudia's psychotic ex, Stanley Osmanski, but the part went to Bob Moran, who starred in many Farrelly Brothers movies. And as mentioned, Vanessa Angel starred as Claudia, who at the time I mainly knew from starring as Lisa in the Weird Science TV show adaptation. Yep, she definitely helped me to discover puberty. I like to think that somewhere out there is a parallel version of Kingpin, starring Chris Farley and Michael Keaton as Ishmael and Roy, where they have to go against Jim Carrey's Big Ern. And if that version doesn't exist, I don't really care, as Randy Quaid, Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray all do a fantastic job. They do. Number 7. One actor jumped out of a window to not star in Kingpin. So IMDb offers a fascinating story in that Kramer actor Michael Richards was in talks to star in Kingpin, but the meeting with the Farrelly brothers to discuss his involvement ended in the strangest of circumstances. The page goes on to explain that the meeting really wasn't going well, as it seems that Richards and the Farrelly brothers just weren't seeing eye to eye, which would lead to disagreements, where at one stage Richards took a breather to use the bathroom in the Farrelly brothers' office. Only, he didn't come back. The Farrelly brothers waited, and waited, and waited, and no Michael Richards. So after 30 minutes, the Farrelly brothers busted down the bathroom door, fearing that something may have happened to Richards, like he might need medical help or something, only to see that he escaped out of the bathroom window. Yeah, I guess the meeting was going so bad, and Richards really didn't want to star in the movie, so he had to literally make an exit by jumping out the bathroom window. I don't know why he couldn't just say, "I'm out." I mean, after all, he did it in Seinfeld, but there you go. Number 6. One cast member freaked out the Farrelly brothers. So the part of the freaky-ass landlady was played by Lynn Shay. Now the Farrelly brothers had already worked with her, as she previously appeared in Dumb and Dumber, because her brother, Robert Shay, is the founder of New Line Cinema, whom were distributing that movie. However, when it came to Kingpin, the Farrelly brothers were no longer working with New Line Cinema, and the Farrelly brothers weren't exactly jumping up and down to cast Lynn Shay in Kingpin. However, she really wanted the role of the landlady, and put together a costume and the whole display, the whole mutton caboodle. And she turned up to her audition, presenting herself the way that we see her in the movie. And the Farrelly brothers not only didn't recognize her, but thought that some crazy person came in off the streets to their audition. Apparently they thought she was a homeless person looking for an ashtray or something. So yeah, she was obviously behaving very interestingly in her audition. Till finally they realized it was Lynn Shay, and they immediately found her to be hilarious, and they cast her in the role. And a few years later, she would also go on to play Madga in There's Something About Mary as well. And as for the scene where Roy does the spicy tango with the landlady in order to avoid paying rent, the song The Sound of Silence was used, of which needed Paul Simon's approval, and thankfully he saw the funny side of the scene and gave it the thumbs up. Within the sound of silence. Number 5. Bill Murray made it up on the spot. So when the idea of casting Bill Murray came along, the Farrelly brothers initially didn't even know how to get in contact with Bill Murray. He kind of had a reputation of not being the easiest person to reach. Now, Randy Quaid came along and said, "Don't worry, I'll get him." After all, the two had previously worked together on the movie Quick Change. And lo and behold, Quaid did manage to get Bill Murray on board. While filming, Murray pretty much ad-libbed his lines, adding his own unique Bill Murray comedy to the character. And the Farrellys didn't mind, as they thought that Murray made the movie funnier, and really liked his lines that he was making up, particularly one which included the sentence, "You're on a gravy train with biscuit wheels," which basically means you're rising to success, which, yeah, is a unique perspective. Another ad-lib scene is where Murray says hi to a table of ladies, where he then says, "Not you," to one of the ladies who say hello back to him. Going back to IMDb, Murray felt bad after that and actually went over to the table and apologised. Look, it does seem that when Bill Murray stars in a movie, he's either going to be an angel or a demon from hell. I guess it depends on the movie and how well he gets along with the cast and crew. After all, look what happened during the making of What About Bob? But that's just a guess. I still love Bill Murray. Number 4. The origin of a unique prop. Okay, so a standout prop in the movie is Big Ern's bowling ball, which is transparent and has a rose inside of it. It's so theatrical and over the top. It just goes perfectly with the Big Ern character, because he is so grandiose and has such a big ego. He would totally do something like have a transparent bowling ball made with a rose inside of it, as it's a great monument to his said ego and hubris. However, going back to Mental Floss, that wasn't a prop constructed for the movie, but it was brought at a bowling pro shop in Pittsburgh where the movie was filmed, while the movie's crew were looking for locations. Yep, they went to this shop, saw this bowl, and thought, yeah, that'll totally work in the movie. And yeah, it is perfect for the Ern character. Speaking of the bowling scenes, some of the calls and yells made by the background audience were supposedly provided by Will Ferrell, who went uncredited. However, what about the two main actors who play these bowling champions? How did they fare up in real life bowling? Number 3. Bowling talents behind the scenes. Well, to put it bluntly, Woody Harrelson apparently sucked at bowling. Yeah, he couldn't bowl to save his life. In fact, his bowling was so bad, bowling instructors would have to be brought onto the set to at least try to make it look convincing when he throws the ball. You know, to at least try to make it look like he knows a thing or two about what he's doing. But nope, Harrelson was apparently so bad, for most of the shots when his character is bowling, stunt doubles were used. Bill Murray, on the other hand, seemed to be a bowling champion, naturally gifted in the sport. So much so that in that scene in the tournament where he has to get 3 strikes to win, Murray really did bowl those strikes. So technically that wasn't Big Ern who won that game, but it was in fact Bill Murray himself. Woody Harrelson's real-life bad bowling practices reminds me of this one time I went bowling with friends, which, admittedly, I don't do often, and I just wasn't knocking any pins over. I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and basically the ball just kept going in the gutter. And so basically I got so frustrated, I ended up running down the aisle all the way to where the pins are, and just throwing the ball into the pins right there and getting a guaranteed strike. However, understandably, I did get in trouble with the establishment and I was told that that was dangerous. Sorry. Number 2, original ending. So we all know the ending of Kingpin, where Roy loses the tournament to Big Ern, but in the long run, it doesn't really matter, as Roy would become a paid mascot for a condom brand due to his nickname, Rubber Mads. However, according to Cracked, in the original script there was an entirely different ending, where after getting defeated by Big Ern in the tournament, Roy goes to wallow in his sorrows at a Las Vegas casino, where he puts a quarter in and boom, just like that, wins $1 million right there on the spot, problem solved. However, the Farrelly brothers didn't like this ending. They thought that this payoff was too easy. Crispin Glover also didn't like this ending, due to monetary gain being the reward, as he felt that the love should have been the reward. Whoops, sorry, wrong movie. So yeah, this instant millionaire thanks to a trip to a casino was scrapped in favour of the condom endorsement resolution. Number 1, the Olympics got the final strike. Kingpin was released in July 1996, and it made just over $32 million on its $25 million budget, with it being deemed a box office flop. Peter Farrelly described the box office disappointment of Kingpin to be the biggest disappointment in his and his brothers' careers, and that it really crushed their egos. And he also put the movie's failings to the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. And yeah, that most definitely could have derailed Kingpin's momentum. Kingpin also got pretty rough reviews from critics too, with the movie being described as vulgar and mean-spirited. I mean, geez, this is the Farrelly brothers, the guys who gave us Dumb and Dumber. What did they think this was, frickin' Care Bears? However, going back to Cracked, Siskel and Ebert gave Kingpin rave reviews, which actually saved the movie's bacon. Ebert would reward the movie with 3.5 stars, and Gene Siskel went as far as adding Kingpin to his list of best movies of 1996. Wow! It's believed because of these endorsements that Kingpin really flourished in video rentals, where it was the #1 video 6 weeks in a row, with Siskel and Ebert's endorsement proudly printed on the movie's video cover for all to see. Now, we didn't get that endorsement on the Australian VHS cover. No. Instead, we got Vanessa Angel bending over, which is still pretty cool. I don't mind looking at that. I think that most people agree that other Farrelly Brothers movies like Dumb and Dumber, There's Something About Mary, and Me, Myself and Irene are comedy classics. But I do think that Kingpin still does sometimes get overlooked. But it's every bit as funny, original, and outrageous as those other movies. And oddly, it's actually really heartfelt too. Yeah, it is. You actually really grow to care about these characters despite them being really quirky. Seriously, if you like comedy movies that have a bit of bite to them, then do yourself a favour and watch Kingpin. You're only doing yourself an injustice if you don't. So that was my look into Kingpin, a movie that has lots of balls and lots of fingers in holes. Well, geez, when I say it like that, it almost sounds like a adult movie. Oh. So anyway, I'm Minty, and serious question. Who do you think had the most epic comb-over in Kingpin out of Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray? Let me know. See ya!